this is 2010.
That's a different era, dude. Yeah. Okay, now transport yourself to a truly different era.
Great lead-in.
Great lead-in.
We lead in with something.
This is really good, I think, for the holiday season or for the beginning of autumn when I think of spooky, scary, and also Thanksgiving. I think of New England, right? And so think back to the first generation after the Pilgrims. The years are 1675, 1676, 100 years before the Revolution. Welcome to the land of knowledge.
Welcome to the land of knowledge.
Welcome to the land of truth.
Welcome to the land of knowledge.
Drink from our fountain of youth.
Okay.
We're working on that.
Yeah, we're going to get it too.
Fountain of youth.
All right, so today's topic is something that I kind of just found out about and am obsessed with, but now have researched to the point that I have to get it out.
Okay.
It is King Philip's War. So, quick overview. This is a war between English settlers, mostly like Puritans, pretty much all Puritans, in the Massachusetts Bay Colony, the Plymouth Colony, and Connecticut, the Connecticut River Valley, versus the natives there being the Wampanoag, the Nipmuc, and the Narragansetts, for more or less, you know. And so let's get into it.
All these
there are some names in here.
Groups, and they weren't all friendly with each other.
No,
Name the groups again. Say the group names again.
So the three main belligerents on the Native American side are the Nipmuc, the Narragansett, and the Wampanoag.
The Wampanoag.
And also fighting on the English side actually are the Mohawks and the Mohicans, I think.
That could be confusing.
Yeah. Yeah, man, you never know. But anyway, so this is like a dirty, brutal conflict. It's like not well executed. It's, you know, normal citizens. It's small numbers of people involved in the battles. It's very personal, and it is like the horror movie The Strangers, where those people are just like in a cabin in the woods, and there's a bunch of
people just show up.
There are people around the cabin that mean to murder you in a super brutal way, and you are just alone out there. And they're coming.
And you can't talk to them.
The car's not going to start.
Yeah, no, the car's not going to start.
There's no reasoning.
They have already killed your horses
and eaten them.
Nope.
There's no cell service where you're at.
There's definitely no cell service, dude.
I think about like the colonialists, even if, the Pilgrims or these early settlers, colonists, excuse me, and how wild it would be. You're a kid, you're born, and then like in the woods around you are these people that are native, and they don't want you there, and sometimes they're willing to use brutal violence.
Yeah, and I mean, the white folks do at least as bad, if not worse.
Oh, definitely.
Natives. They keep saying Indians. I don't know if are you supposed to say that or not?
We call that area New England now, not Wampanoag or whatever. I mean, there's towns in there and
you
stuff.
You did a good job of combining them. Yeah, so like, well, imagine, it's so hard for like white people in America. Imagine that like you are in a small cluster of people that are like you, and all around you is unfamiliar. I mean, these people are at this point born here, but like y'all are the minority by a vast, like the whole rest of the continent beyond your settlement is not white people, not European, not like what we think of a Western culture.
I can relate a little bit from growing up in Southeast Asia,
Because you were in like little enclosed areas.
Yeah, and I never felt really unsafe.
Well, yeah, you lived on a resort in Sandals, Bali, or whatever.
No. I mean, we lived in Jakarta, and we lived in like a compound kind of, corporate deal. But we'd go out and fucking do shit, and I got fucking beat up for my Chicago Bulls hat once. But that was really the only time I ever like had any sort of, and that was whatever. But yeah, cool. Sorry.
Cool. Right on. So you're right, John. Your life is just like this.
No, I'm just saying I can relate to being a person that I can see a little bit that, although it's totally different. But
John does not see color, y'all. All right, here we go. I'm just playing, man. All right, so just to like also put into perspective like the level that we're taking the violence to and stuff. Both sides are doing the impale your enemy's head on a spike and leave it like out on display and shit. And it's like, you got your local militia and stuff, but there's no like national government that's going to sweep in and save you. Your national government's in England.
Can you imagine coming upon that, you're walking along and you're just a fucking like Puritan who's just like so into being a good Christian, whatever you believe,
or you're like
crazy
super
shit.
into judging people and
of course,
people.
But also whatever, and you maybe got your family and you're going along, and they're like, "What's that smell, Father?"
Yeah, and
then it's a fucking dude's head on a fucking stake on the trail.
The white people are doing this too, though.
Yeah,
They're also mounting heads on the entrance to their villages and shit.
It was like the Wild West.
Yeah, it is. Well, it actually is
pre-Wild
a lot like the Wild West, and this is considered what sets the tone for the way what would become American expansion relates with Native Americans from this point on.
That sort of manifest destiny.
Right. It's no longer like we're going to really try to live together. We're just going to take this shit now.
I saw a little thing about how this whole war, King Philip's War, was very important in the formation of the American identity. That we can band together and fucking do anything.
Right, but also they did so poorly in like militarily at the beginning of this war that the British then like start to enact way more control over the colonies than they were, and they say they were never as truly American after this until they actually rebelled, because the British were just like, holy shit, you couldn't fucking kill those Indians better than that. but all right, so
we tried.
So 1675, this is the first generation after the people who came over. There are people, the older people in this generation were at the first Thanksgiving.
Oh my God.
So King Philip is actually a Pokanoket Wampanoag chief. They call him sachems, whose name is Metacomet. That's his real name. The English people call him King Philip, and he is, the king of the sachem of the Wampanoag. And he is the son of Massasoit, who was a chief at Thanksgiving. So like this is, and it's a very small world there, right? So this is actually the bloodiest war in American quote history. 5% of the entire like colonist population will die in this war. That's actually staggering number.
I was reading something about populations in this time frame. There was about 20,000 colonists.
Yeah, that's it.
20,000 over a space the size of Connecticut, Rhode Island.
Yeah, it's all southern New England.
Yeah,
it's not. We're not even talking about New York
and it's
Vermont.
not all those states either.
It's Rhode Island, Massachusetts, and Connecticut. And like that's it.
But
maybe
still,
some New
huge,
Hampshire. I don't really know the borders of that mess up there because it's so small. Every state is so small. It's just like how in actual Europe they're like Liechtenstein deserves to be its own country, but then when they divide up Africa, they're like, this is Nigeria, this is Chad, and then it's like by the time they get out west, they're like, this big square, Colorado. This big square, Utah. But like Rhode Island is not Massachusetts. They're
some
very
weird
different.
shaped countries on the west side of Africa, like that are really like tiny little slivers that jut in.
Yeah.
Anyways.
All right. So.
Anywho.
All right. So, so King Philip is the Wampanoag chief.
Metacomet.
Right.
What a name. That's cool.
Yeah, dude. So part of the reason that things break down is the generation of the people that initially came here and formed the relationships with the Native Americans on this is on both sides. They're starting to pass away, and those interpersonal relationships that have often served to like calm things down when tensions arise or die out with these guys.
The peacekeepers.
Right. And so now when things start to get testy, everybody's kind of like, well, they said they wanted to come be a part of our society, but they just keep taking more of our stuff. And they're just like, they're not Christians, So it all kicks off when this guy named...
Echoes of the Present, maybe.
Yeah. John Sassamon is a Wampanoag Native American, but he's what they call the praying Indian. So he's a Christian. He's actually educated at Harvard. This is how old Harvard is.
So was Metacomet.
Turns out not.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I had
he went
that.
and corrected himself.
Okay.
YouTube channel Atun Shea is like incredible. That guy is the authority on this. I've watched a lot of videos, but his were the least dry. He does pose behind some rocks.
He does
in some ways.
He has
but
he keeps it live.
He's the man. He's honestly the man because some of this stuff can be really dry.
I watched that whole video about it.
Yeah, I watched it a couple times. And I took a lot of these notes while driving. So
wow, that's
so they are not all spelled right. So I might have to take a second.
No problem.
All right. Anyway, so John Sassamon is a praying native or whatever, and they get to live on the edge of town. They're Christian, but everyone's super racist against them anyway.
Yeah, they're not treated really well.
No. So he comes to the bosses in the Plymouth colony, and he's like, dude, King Philip is going to try to kill all y'all. Like, he's planning it, dude. Y'all are not safe. And so they're like, well, I don't know. You're not white. I don't think we can really listen to you. But later, he's found floating in a river with his neck broken.
Oh,
and since they kind of think he's one of us, sort of, not really, the Plymouth colony, elders try and hang 3 Wampanoag, men for this crime. So they execute these guys. But, the Wampanoags, King Philip, he's like, we're not under y'all. You can't execute my people. That's crazy, dude. So what winds up happening is that the Wampanoags attack the village at Swansea, and they burn it all up. They kill women and children. It's really brutal. It's this first, and there are countless of these raids on the settlers. The Indians start off this thing beaten badly back the colonists, and it's super scary, and they're kidnapping, and all the narratives say things like he was knocked over the head, and that's a really nice way to say he tomahawked his head open. And if they're not instantly dead, they'll run up, tear their clothes off, and disembowel them while they're crawling around. Jesus. Yeah, dude.
Now, was there any scalping going on? Were they taking scalps? I don't know if
scalping was happening yet.
Okay.
I've actually heard, and I don't really know, that the white man did that first because there was a bounty on Native Americans, and it was how do you prove how many you killed? You cut their scalps off. And then they started doing it in retaliation, but I don't know, man. So anyway, yeah, so that's real bad.
You heard it here first.
Yeah. So it gets going after that. The English immediately ride out from Plymouth, and they try to corner Metacomet he's from Mount Hope. I guess it's a peninsula over there by Plymouth or whatever.
Yeah,
he escapes, but there's some small fighting, and there's a total eclipse of the moon in the middle of it. So they're, both of their religious things
They
caused
took
them
it
to be
as a
like,
sign.
whoa, because that's fucking crazy. There's some ancient battle where that happened too, and like both the Hittites and the Egyptians were just like, hold on, bruh. I don't know what we need to be doing this, man.
Yeah, in like World War II or World War I, the Christmas, whatever it's called, and they friggin' paused during the battle, and they all hung out and ate, and played soccer, and then they're like, okay, back to killing each other.
And then they're like, no more of that. The powers that be were like, these poor people are relating to each other. I don't know if we can kill each other
all
for
the
us anymore.
same.
Yeah.
One question real quick before we go any further. I'm wondering about weaponry. Are these guys fighting each other with everybody's got like muskets and guns and shit?
Guns.
Okay,
everybody's got guns. Natives do know how to use their arrows. Sometimes they will and stuff, but at this point,
they're packing them, I imagine. But this is pre like 100
These
years
are muskets.
Before,
so
200 years before the Civil War. Holy shit.
Oh yeah, Bo. This is a long ass time ago.
Yeah.
So actually the Native Americans have better guns than the English in this. It's not and they're better at using them. Because like these English are using whatever
Is this last
surplus
of the Mohicans
arms.
time, maybe?
Yes.
Okay.
What's that? What'd you say?
Last of the Mohicans.
That's
So they get to trade with Dutch and French people for guns however they want.
Okay.
Firearms for Englishmen are like kept in a battery controlled by the local militia, and they're surplus guns left over from the English Civil War and shit. The Indians can freely trade and gain access to the newest guns they can get from fur traders and stuff, and they actually go around using them all hunting all the time. These English guys are like farmers and like blacksmiths. They don't use guns. They don't fight wars, and the ones that did fought in the like English Civil War out on open fields in one tight cluster, shooting volleys at another tight cluster.
like ready, aim.
Yeah. So they're not ready for this shit, like at all.
Guerrilla warfare, sort of.
No, man, they get fucked up. In fact, the next battle I kind of want to talk about is what they call Bloody Brook, which used to be called Muddy Brook until this happened, and that's true. There are like these English dudes walking with the supply for they've got like half the food that was grown in the Connecticut River Valley that year or something. It's like they've got the harvest, and this is when like you got to hold on to that shit.
And these are colonists.
These are the colonists, yeah. And they are walking through and fucking let me make sure I'm getting the right one here. Yeah, so they're walking around and they like get past where they think the danger is, and they kind of like stray off the path. They spread out. They put all their guns in the cart, and they're like picking grapes and shit. Yeah. And they get set on by the Nipmuc, by my boy, silly name, but the better than King Phillip leader. His name is Muddawump.
Muddawump?
Yeah, man.
Did he have an Anglicanized name or whatever? A Christian name?
I don't think he was doing any of that shit. He's not going for it.
Not Muddawump.
He's not going for it, dude.
I didn't go to Harvard, y'all.
No, hell no, dude.
When
I
you
like
even co-op classes.
You know when you like they patch the pavement and you drive over it? Mm-hmm. But it won't. Anyway, so he is like really good at feinting, ambushing, surprising, and stuff like that. And they feinting, like
we got him. No,
right.
He's just kidding.
Oh, I declare
he was a dramatist.
I declare, Mr. Beauregard. Yeah. So he takes the harvest and he just like wrecks this whole column of
grape picking colonists.
Yeah. Yeah, so they kill like pretty much all of them and they run off, and by the time like some guys can get there to find them, fucking they left one guy hanging from a tree with a metal hook through his jaw, suspended in the fucking air, dude. Alive, cousin.
Sound of a horror movie.
It is horrific. It is. This is Halloween.
Cartel shit, man.
Yeah, it's brutal, dude. So that's no good, for the English. So
and these people, I just think about the era and how religious they were, and God controlled everything.
Yes.
So they're like, we must somehow deserve this.
Well, so there is a woman named Mary Rowlandson who's kidnapped from Lancaster, and she writes down the narrative of her capture, and they treat her relatively well. Her kid dies during it, though. Like, a baby is shot in her arms and stuff. It's pretty brutal, but
they treat her pretty well.
But when she's like, I mean, they didn't torture her or
so that happened
her. They
in
didn't
the
R
initial
her,
thing, and then they're
or anything like that. They let her ride on a horse when she wasn't feeling good. But she talks about that being like, if God wants us to have this land, then why are we so futile to protect ourselves?
Yeah.
Like, why are we getting fucked like this? Like, this sucks, But then, of course, she's constantly being like, but it just strengthened my faith in the Lord. So,
did she escape from?
She got ransomed.
Okay.
She was ransomed. No, she did not escape. I don't think she could have got away from these guys anyway. All right, so.
This ain't like the movies.
Yeah. So,
so far, it's like
right.
pro-Indian, like they're...
Like they're winning.
Yeah.
They're winning. But here's a switch over in that, though, is so the Nipmuc, I'm trying not to say that they art them, but they got them really good at Bloody Brook. So they're in it. The Wampanoag are obviously in it because they attacked Swansea to start it. The Narragansetts, they are like the biggest one in what is most of Massachusetts, and they're like not doing anything. They're chilling. They're like, hey, man, I don't know, it ain't my fight. This is not a full-fledged war between all the Indians, and it never really is because there's Indians on the English side the whole time. Mm-hmm. But there's not this giant like confederacy against, the English. Right now there's been a couple skirmishes and stuff, and it's like more like some personal beefs. But the British get together and like, what are the Narragansett going to do? Yeah. I don't know, man. You know what we ought to do is attack them first.
Oh, man.
So, but this is a bad one, man. The British get the hell out of them on this one. Yes. So this is the Great Swamp Fight. Mm-hmm. So using the help of a turncoat native, a praying Indian, I guess, Samuel Mosley, who leads this assault. And Benjamin Church is there too. They're like two of the main like English leaders. Samuel Mosley is a fucker. He loved to kill praying Indians. He had no problem with killing women and children. Like one time ever, his guys like got in trouble for doing this, and that people were like outraged. He was super good with just like slaughtering women and children and selling them all into slavery. A lot of these
Indians
was
great at slaughtering women and children.
He's so good at it, dude.
Creating slaves.
He does not view Native Americans as people at all. He thinks that they are like animals. He was a pirate down in the Caribbean and shit. He's a bad boy, and he actually raised his own company of like scurvy-ridden bad boys. Because like a lot of the people that are in the English forces are impressed that they're the poor people because the rich people aren't sending their own kids to do this shit. It's like if you like one guy dressed too fancy for his station, so the rich people got mad at him, so he's going to war. Like shit like that, right? So they find the Narragansett. I kind of know this is
fancy
coming.
Boy going to war now.
Yeah. Brass buttons, stable boy. But, so the Narragansett kind of knew this was coming, so they built a big fortified city around this. Like, there's hundreds of wigwams in this thing, but one turncoat native is like, I know how we can get in it. So
they had big walls and shit.
It had big walls. Yeah, it's like the most well fortified thing the British have ever seen. The Native Americans have, but they have a sneak attack, or not sneak. Well, they have an easy way in, and when they get in there, it's house to house fighting. Close quarters, muskets from not far away, and they're also burning every house as they go. So it's like hell. It's like the second week of December. So like people are gonna die from exposure at the end of this.
Then that's how they were able to get across the swamp because it was frozen.
Oh shit!
Yeah, I read that.
Oh,
Yeah.
Because it was the place they built it purposefully, like this fort away, and they also put it in this swamp, thinking like no one's gonna fuck with us out here.
Yeah.
But the wintertime it was frozen. It was easy for the British, the colonists to.
Jesus.
Yeah. So,
And I read there was a hole in the wall. It wasn't quite finished
right. That's
yet.
what it is. And
Yeah.
they didn't. They knew about that because this Indian
That son
showed
of a
them.
bitch, man.
Yeah, they're like just weren't quite done yet. So Benjamin Church is actually my notes say shit 3 times. He was shot 3 times. And if you hear him tell it, he's like, "Let me go home," but I'm sure he was not.
You stink.
Yeah.
I need shot.
And I mean, like both when the natives would attack the English, they would also, burn their shit down and stuff. But like, this is also where a bunch of women and children and old men live.
Yeah.
So they're burning people in their huts.
Them
They're
alive,
killing them.
just setting their
Yeah,
fucking
Benjamin
houses on
Church is like,
fire.
wait, we need these structures and like we can take their. He's not like let's save them. He's like, let's take their shit. Don't burn it all up, because we're gonna be stuck out here in this cold ass shit.
Yeah,
but
they
the
had
governor's
tons of
like,
food, right?
nah, fuck that, dude. Burn it all.
Yeah,
and
there
so,
was tons of rice and all
Yeah.
sorts of food. They
yeah,
had
like
stored.
the whole
Barley,
Narragansett
whatever.
harvest is
Yeah.
there too. And so they wind up,
No
killing like
Thanksgiving that year.
600
That's
fucking people, including like majority women and children.
yeah.
And old men.
Horrific.
So that's pretty bad. And it's the second week in December, so the English have to trudge back through this bullshit, but they have somewhere to go back to. Who knows how many Narragansett then just like die of exposure because they burned it all down. But, it don't always go the way of the colonists.
Well, that's okay then.
Yeah. It's fine. I mean, kind of got it in the end anyway. So Sudbury is the last big native, like, victory on a bigger scale, but they take so many losses in it that even though they win, they're kind of fucked. And
a
Mary
Pyrrhic victory,
Rowlandson
if you will.
is actually a captive, and at the end of the battle, he's like, they won, but, like, she's seeing, like, they're having to stay on the move. They're desperate dudes. Like, they're not, like, going back and be like, oh, fucking, did you see what I did to that fucking guy, dude? He's fucking, oh my god, dude, what a pussy. So Sudbury had a garrison house, and that's, like, the first place where they're fighting at. And the men are standing in the window shooting down at the Indians. They shoot their musket. They pass it back to their bay. The hoes are back there reloading them and passing them back up so they can keep on blasting.
Oh my god.
Yeah. God, I get so mad at my girlfriend. She's like, how do I do it? Like, holy shit, we went over this.
Fucking back in a
You
boat
didn't
in the
think
boat
about it.
ramp.
I forgot to eat. And just one like funny thing, they're like Indians light a big wagon full of flax on fire, and they're like gonna roll it down the hill, and everyone's like, no, no. And they're like, yeah. And then it just like hits a rock and turns over. They're like,
Barreling towards
And it's just
them.
kind of funny. It just reminds you, like in the warfare with things so low tech, like it's just like, didn't see that. Didn't see that rock.
We could make a slapstick
like-
comedy about this.
Yeah, dude, definitely.
It's like the Pong of video games.
Yeah. So,
not.
as like,
Yeah.
yeah. So like, as this shit is happening,
Like Pong?
Pong. Yeah. They're just like throwing white babies back and forth.
No, it was like low tech war. Like
Yeah.
it was low tech war.
Low tech war.
They're building like a Tetris fort.
Or from depending what you're looking up. Whatever. Forget it.
No, I get it.
No, man, for sure, dude. For sure.
I just had a moment.
Definitely, dude.
I just did a moment.
Definitely, man. I get it, dude. So there's like different little militias come to try and like rescue Sudbury, but no one knows how many like
So
Indians are out there.
Sudbury
and
was
shit.
just like a town that just got destroyed.
Pretty much. I mean, yeah, the Indians breach it, and like there's like a group of like 11 dudes from Concord who are like, we're gonna go in there and save them, guys. And they get there and they're immediately like, like, oh fuck, like that's not enough guys. There's a militia of 80 dudes who get there, and they immediately get feinted and ambushed, and they're like getting fucked, and they make this final stand. This is like their Custer moment. on this green hill, and the Indians are like, this shit's taking too long, so they just light it on fire.
Fainted.
Like,
What does that mean?
That means the Indians come up and pretend to run away, so then you're like, we got them on the run, boys, let's get them. And then it's like, yeah. In boxing, it's when you like pretend to punch, so someone will react, and then you can actually hit them with what you want to hit. Yeah, so nobody can save these guys. They eventually break and run. Out of the 80 of them that came to try and save Sudbury, only like 14 are left at the end of it. And Sudbury loses. But it's a bad win for the Native Americans. They're kind of fucked.
They lose a lot, too.
Yeah, they get back and they're like, Mary Rowlandson, you Ofe bitch. We got your people, but it didn't really work out. Her story's crazy. She was in Lancaster. The natives are they like besiege the town. They're shooting at it. They shoot a baby that's in her arms right in the head.
Oh, Jesus.
That was her niece. Her sister's like, you know what? Go ahead. I don't want to live without my child. Go ahead and kill me. They're like, obliged. Blah! And then Mary Rowlandson was like, I had always said that I would rather die than be taken. But after I saw that, I said, take me away.
What was that Christian Bale movie, Rosamund Pike? You know, it's got Native Americans. They have to take them to Montana or something. Hostiles.
Yeah.
I don't know.
But that woman, her child dies at the beginning of it somehow.
Oh, what
and
again?
so she just fucking shoots herself as the wagon train's leaving, and no one does anything. They all know she's about to do it, and they're like, yep, that's just how we do it now.
That's just how we do it now. But, yeah, she's like in her house, and they try to light it on fire, and they manage to get her out one time, but the second time, it's all lit on fire. I mean, it's just so scary. You're trapped in the woods. It's nighttime. These guys are like, know what they're doing. You're just there with your family. You're not, these are like warriors coming in.
Were they making war calls and shit?
Yes,
to scare
man.
The fuck out of them?
Yes, dude. Oh my God.
You hear it in the distance.
These fucking stuffy ass crackers.
In the middle of the night.
Yes, dude. Like, what the fuck was that noise? Oh God. And these cracker motherfuckers, like, they like don't talk. And they're like so rigid. And then these just, guys are coming in, shirts or no shirts, painted face, yeeing like a motherfucker. They're just like, holy shit, I've never raised my voice in my entire life. Like, this is crazy, dude.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Yeah, so
I told you we should have stayed in England.
Yeah, no shit, man. Like, London's too crowded, Father. Take me to the place with the clean air. And it's just like fucking choking on smoke as you're.
I don't know, Wilhelmina.
Wilhelmina. Yeah, so she keeps talking about people getting knocked on the head, but that's either hatcheted in the fucking face or like your skull bashed in with a club. And she says, like, again, she sees there's somebody still crawling on the ground with their head chopped open, and the natives come, steal all the clothes off their back, and then just stick their knife in his stomach and mix it all around. Shit. That until it finally dies. Yeah. So she's like, you know what? I'll go with y'all. You don't have to kill me. Eventually, though,
they grow tired of her?
No, she got ransomed. Okay. But eventually, it doesn't work out for the natives. It's actually a praying Indian who fires the shot that kills King Philip. He's standing next to Benjamin Church.
He retreated back to the mountain, right?
He went back to Mount Hope. He's like, I'm fucked. I'm going back to the land of my ancestors. We'll see, how it's going to play.
He knew he was fucked. He knew he was going to die, so he wanted to go home to die.
Yeah, which is awesome, honestly.
And a turncoat motherfucker got him.
Yeah. And so, in good fucking decorum, they cut his head off, put it on a spike. They draw and quarter his dead body.
Braveheart.
Just to show how, brave and intelligent they are. His head sits on a spike for decades outside the Plymouth colony. So for a long time, it's obviously just a skull. But
that's so brutal.
It's pretty fucking brutal, man.
Savage.
It is savage, dude.
Oh wait, yes, we are in the right place. That's King Philip's skull.
Yeah. It's like, my name's not Phillip. But,
I swear, last night King Philip's skull was talking to me.
Too much mead.
Shut up, Henry. You were blind drunk.
You think they ever were just like, I'm King Philip.
Hell, you know they were.
King
That's
Philip
bad
wants
luck.
us to kiss now. But yeah. So the guy who killed King Philip,
The man who
cuts
shot
his hand off
King
and keeps it in a
Philip.
jar, and just shows people at the bar for a long time. This is not the only head the English people mount on a spike. A female sachem who did fight, but then was like, you know what, dude, let's just get my people out of here. Let's go somewhere. We'll strike a treaty. She winds up like drowning or something. They find her body, immediately mutilate it, and mount. This is a woman,
She drowned,
non-combatant.
and then they're like, "Oh,
They took
look
credit.
at this!"
Draw and quarter her corpse. Put her head on a spike as well. So super sick.
But they didn't kill her. She just happened to drown.
They just like found her dead. Yeah.
Weird.
It's still a mystery.
Yeah. So after this,
We'll say we killed her. We'll
there's
say
like
we
one
killed
guy
her.
left with the yeah. We
can still
we
torture
tricked
her,
into
right?
Drinking so much water, she died. There's one guy left to lead the Wampanoag, and he decides not to even fight. He goes to like meet with Benjamin Church. He presents him with.
So this is the
Metacomet,
predecessor.
Wampum. This is Anawan. This is actually he's an old dude. He's not Metacomet's dad, but he was also. This is someone who like as a youth was at the first Thanksgiving.
He was at Thanksgiving. He brought the sweet potatoes.
Yeah, and they then torture the shit out of him and make him. He brought the sweet potatoes. He made the potato salad, and get him to admit that he did a whole bunch of bad shit, and then they hang him. After this, they pretty much
They just couldn't catch a
yeah.
break. Give up or keep fighting. You're dead.
After this, they round up like all the Native Americans that are still, most of them like flee as refugees up into New York and Vermont and shit. They round a bunch of them up, and the women and children are mostly sent off as slaves to Barbados and Bermuda and shit, and the men are just executed. Yeah, and after that, lower New England is owned by the English colonists. It's not like living in harmony. Before that, like your village might be short walk away from a place where a bunch of Native Americans live, and y'all like kind of trade and have like an uneasy kind of like thing. Now it's like, this is all us.
None of them.
They're
don't
on
worry,
the frontier.
They're not around
now.
here. Yeah.
This is where we're at now, and it's pretty fucked up, man.
Yeah.
There is one.
Ethnic cleansing.
It is an ethnic cleansing. There is one. So the Pinnacock were some Native Americans that tried
Pennacock?
to not fight.
Five cock?
Yeah, penis cock.
Oh.
Pentagram. They tried to not fight, and they got fucked anyway. So they're like refugees go and meet up with these guys in Vermont and New York called the Wabanaki, who there's like a second war called like King William's War, or King Sammy's War, or some bullshit.
Was this another,
It is.
Christian
This
name
is-
of a native
this is after
king?
that.
Or, I mean,
And the Wabanaki helped the Pinnacock get bad at this bastard Richard Waldron from Dover, who had tricked the Pinnacock into dinner and then captured and sold all the women into slavery and killed all the men or whatever.
Red
So
wedding.
when they get him with the Wabanaki, they all hold him down, and each one of them gets to take their knife and draw it like through his stomach one by one. They get their personal
like Julius
thing.
Caesar?
Yeah, I guess.
Didn't they all stop? Like Julius
Yeah.
Caesar got stabbed by a whole.
Yeah, but I think this is like not stabbing. I think it's like stick it in and go like seppuku, like harikari style.
Oh, like move it around a little bit, pull out
and
some.
then
fucking
and then they
guts.
take his own sword and stick it up his ass.
You know, in seppuku they would have the second. The guy would start doing it, and once he started making the cuts, they would have a guy who would stand behind you and cut your head off with his samurai sword,
Nice.
so you wouldn't suffer.
Oh, right. Well, then why don't you just start with that?
And they did it. Some crazy Japanese poet and novelist did it in like the 60s, I feel like, trying to do a protest. And his buddy, who was supposed to be the second, fucked up and tried like 3 times, couldn't do it. So then this other guy was like, fuck, okay, fine, I'll do it, who was the swordsman. And then he cut the dude's head off. And the guy who fucked up 3 times was like, you know what? I don't deserve to live. Did it to himself. And then he cut him his head off. What?
I knew it, dude.
Oh, it's so crazy.
Damn. Learning a little bit about colonial history, though. You know John Smith, the one who like said he fell in love with Pocahontas, who was like 12 or whatever.
Yeah.
This is down Jamestown Colony. I didn't know. I mean, he's probably a controversial character. He's a fucking badass, dude. He was born a farmer
John
in
Smith?
England. He's like, not for me, dude. So he goes and fights against the Spanish in France with this like just detachment of English guys who are like, we don't want to be farmers either. Then he joins the Austrian military just to fight the Turks. He defeats 3 Turkish like captains in hand-to-hand combat.
He's
So
like
he
a
becomes
mercenary.
A fucking captain in his own right in the Austrian military. Gets enslaved, escapes by killing his own master, gets away to Russia, and then like eventually comes to Jamestown. This motherfucker just all over the goddamn place.
Damn.
That's crazy.
Who was Princess Bride, you know?
What about
Inigo Montoya?
The pirate, Mad Mortigan.
Oh, no.
There's also a 2-day siege in this in the middle of this thing. I think it's some borough. I don't know. All these places, Brookfield. All these places are still like
Towns.
you hear about like the opium crisis in Fall River, Massachusetts, like all the time. But yeah, that was Wheeler's surprise. Where surprise, there's Indians. They kill a whole bunch of these fuckers. And so they run back to the village that the Indians then besieged for 2 days. It just a note of fucking total chaos in the middle of like the Indians like lighting your shit on fire, you're putting it out. They're like someone runs across to get a pail of water. They drag them into the woods. You hear them fucking screaming and shit. There are 2 separate sets of twins born in the 2 days of this siege.
Man, you know, there's a few lucky farms out there where they're just nothing. They just were got by unscathed. They're like, woof.
Right.
Well, I guess we're the chosen ones.
Yeah, God must love us. But there are a couple places that just have to get abandoned and eventually get resettled again.
How many people were killed?
Oh, I don't know, but it's 5% of all the white people.
20,000. 10% of that's 2,000. So 500 people.
I guess. No, 1,000 people.
Wait. You're right. You're right.
Yeah.
4,000. No. 400?
If 10% is 2,000, then
Yes.
5% is 1,000.
Yes.
But
Thank you.
I mean, just like if COVID killed 1 million people in the United States, that's 1/3%.
Uh-huh.
So, if 300,000 Americans died in World War II, that's not 1% of the population. So, this is fucking crazy.
That would be like 60 million people or something now.
Yeah, it's fucking wild. And like the people and it's such a small world, like the people who write this history, this dude has got my favorite fucking name ever. I swear to God, this is the most trap star fucking name. His name is Increase Mather.
Increase Mather?
His first name is Increase.
Mather?
That's a fucking
Eminem's
all
brother?
I do is stack, motherfucker. Increase the profit. Increase the bitches. But anyway, he is the father of Cotton Mather, who writes the history of the Salem witch trials. So like you might know that name. So like that's how small the world is that we're in. Where it's like my dad was at Thanksgiving, and my son is at the Salem witch trials, and like fucking
that's wild.
All this shit is just these 20,000 people. That's a neighborhood, That's fucking crazy, man. But brutal, heads on pikes, suspended from your jaw with a hook. You know that metal not clean.
No, definitely probably got tetanus.
Definitely got tetanus, dude. There were probably some castrati after this.
Yeah.
Oh,
If they survived. After the 3 days they could pee.
They would probably like cut them off and shove them in their mouths and
For
shit.
sure.
Oh.
That's where the mafia got it from, dude.
See last week's.
It's just humans do shit like that everywhere.
Yeah.
They've
Well, somebody did it first, and so they're like, "That's what we're doing now."
Like these
and
things
so
going
now
holes.
both sides are doing it,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Wearing
And, like,
necklaces.
I know that, like, I don't know. each tribe is so different. So I don't know like how much the Native Americans in this war were on this type of time, but I know there was a guy who was taken prisoner in the French and Indian War where like they would make you run the gauntlet when they captured you, which is you run down a line full of guys and they all beat you with their clubs as you go down. Yeah. And then they drag you from house to house and everybody gets to do their own little torture to you, where it's like a woman just bites your finger off and shit like that. I know, dude. I know, dude. Like, it's fucking crazy. So, I mean, just, you know, you're
it's
alone
so,
in the woods.
Not to. Like,
what's that noise? They're, you know.
We've come a long way in civilization. It's a good thing.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of people that, no, we need to be uncivilized.
Oh, dude, I hate that fucking
we want violence.
Yeah. The agricultural revolution was a step in the wrong direction, dude. It's like fucking small government. I'm the king of my family. Hunter-gatherer. Paleo diet. You know, so
let's go
ridiculous.
back.
You need a factory to build your AR-15, bro. And that takes an organized group of people. Unfortunately, bro.
How much canned food do you need for 10 years?
I don't know. Have you ever seen talk about a trap star, Increase Mather?
Increase Mather.
Jim Baker.
Eminem's great grandfather.
Yeah, no, you know Jim and Tammy Faye Baker?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, personally.
Jim Baker
actually
got out of prison for lying with the Lord and went straight back to the motherfucking trap. He sells canned food for the apocalypse right now. He pretends to have visions that there are millennials crying because, you know, they brought along the apocalypse. Oh, it's fucking
maybe we can host his podcast.
There used to be this guy.
He's got a new Tammy Faye, looks just fucking like her with the makeup.
You sell Miracle Water on late night TV. Reverend Leroy something.
Still doing it. Like, that's what he does. He has visions. He sells shovels for digging your own latrine. He sells just these giant cans of like queso. And he's like, doesn't that look good? Mm-hmm. He says you can.
And he's just doing a shtick now, it seems like.
Yeah, man. It's fucking crazy. What a goddamn.
Like Home Shopping Network.
What do you plan to do when you
get
out
I'm
of prison?
Apocalypse.
You going to turn your life around? I'm going right back to the motherfucking game, dog. Yeah. I've been plotting this whole fucking time, dude.
Apocalypse packages, man.
Yeah.
Subscription service.
It's coming now. It's coming soon.
I asked and I was forgiven.
This month, you're going to get a queso. Next month, you get a pocket shovel.
It's all like cheesy broccoli and fucking rice. And it's like rice is cheaper than that.
We should start a Baboom Lasan subscription service.
Yeah.
Every month, you get one item from Baboom Lasan.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea.
It's weed every time.
No, that's
it's a resin.
Like one of those.
This month, it's resin.
I have a keyboard back there that none of the C's play.
Huge packages coming in the mail sometimes.
No, you
this week it's a coaster.
Everyone gets one key from the keyboard.
You have to pick it up, though. We don't ship.
Yeah, it's a subscription service, but you have to go there and pick it up.
It's more of a prescription service.
Well, I hope I didn't. I feel like I didn't leave a lot of room for us to riff, man.
There's a lot of knowledge in there, man.
There's a lot of knowledge.
The land is full of it, dude.
The land is full.
Well, I learned a lot about this shit because it's fucking so brutal. And this is 100 years before the revolution.
I just think about
this is a long giggity god time. This is like 350 years ago.
And it went on for a few years.
It actually went on for like 14 months.
Okay, so just over a year.
Yeah.
Wintertime.
That many motherfuckers died that fast. And just like, it's just, you're dirty. You like don't believe in bathing. Everybody's got crazy pubic hair. You get stabbed and you're dirty and you're going to stay dirty when you're stabbed and shit. Stub your toe when it's cold, dude. Like, fuck, man. It sucks so
I would
bad.
love to see the story of like a guy who arrived in the new world and maybe he was kind of a privileged fuck or something. And he arrived, and he got there, and he found out quick that there's these savage natives that were brutal, and people were getting fucking killed and set on fire, and it was terrifying, and shit was tough. And
but
he's
that's
part of the
still
problem.
A little disjointed from it. He had his servants and stuff. Help.
That was part of the problem in Jamestown, dude. Half the people that came to Jamestown were rich investors who wouldn't do any farm work. So they're making the other half of people, and everybody's sick and starving, and they're being like, well, I'm not doing it. And it's like, dude,
I'm waiting for the ship back home.
Man. Yeah, it's fucking crazy. Also,
I would have gone back,
down in Jamestown, that part of the country, the Spanish had already been to, right? So, they know some Algonquin from the people that came back from Roanoke and shit like that. Yeah. Jamestown precedes the Pilgrims. But, it's also likely, our boy Atun Shea was it's also likely, the natives, they didn't see, this ship come in and be like, what the fuck is that? They had met Europeans before. The Spanish started coming here in, the middle 1500s. Yeah. And they taught the natives Spanish. So it's also possible that, the British pull up and they, look at these, alien-looking motherfuckers, and they're like, hola, amigo. ¿Qué pasó? Hey, what's that? Dame, what's that?
And they're like, nope.
Yeah. It's like, what the fuck? They got Mexicans here? But it's crazy.
Build a wall.
Build a palisade. Build a sharpened stake fortress.
Man, I wonder how long they were from completing that wall before those fuckers showed up and massacred them in the swamp. For real, dude. The Narragansett.
Oh, I know, man. And they weren't even trying to fight like that.
And they're just so happy. They're like, man, we're so close to being done. A couple buds who had designed it, and somebody his dad, who was his elder, had no faith in him being able to finish the wall, but he got it done. And they're buds, and they're arm in arm walking back to have a feast.
I didn't think you could
Look,
do it.
we're so close. Look, we got 6 feet left, and we're almost done.
Yeah.
Let's finish it tonight. Yeah. No, come on, we're having a feast. We'll finish it in the morning. God, it's so good. Man. That's what I picture.
But also, talking about not all the natives being on the same side, initially, for the first winter, Metacomet goes up to try to get with the Mohicans. He leaves, New Hope or Good Hope or whatever, and
tries to get some allies.
Yeah, and they turn on him and kill a bunch of them and chase them back out of there.
Shit. Dude. You had the wrong idea, Metacomet.
Wrong idea, buddy. So that fucking sucks. And also, the English kept being so it was custom for refugees of one tribe to go and the other tribes to give them shelter. Maybe they're not necessarily belligerents in this war, but they'd be we let these starving women and children come here, and the English would be like, you're with them now, and then attack it, all of them too. It's dude, what the fuck, man? I ain't got to do nothing.
I'm glad I live now.
Yeah, no shit, dude.
May you live in interesting times.
Yeah.
Chinese proverb.
I've seen the Lumbees have some static on a job site every once in a while, but not to this extent.
You haven't seen any sort of brutality like this? No heads on the stakes on the job sites?
Disemboweled one of his dogs down in Pembroke. But
I worked one day selling meat door to door with this psycho who fought dogs, and they would.
Oh God!
It was insane.
Were they attacking them because they were attacked dogs?
Who buys fucking meat from a guy who knocks on their door?
We were went out in the country, and he bragged to me because he sold a lady a giant drop-in cooler filled with this fucking frozen steaks.
Even if the price is good, it's just I need to see some infrastructure around this meat, dude.
Yeah, exactly.
Not in the day. Not in the day.
Where did
you
this
still
come?
Had milkmen. I remember milk. Do you remember milkmen? Did you have?
Of course, yeah, in the cool box, with the aluminum, and it was insulated.
There was no milk in there this morning. Come back this afternoon, the milk's in there.
Mm-hmm.
You didn't put it in there.
Oh yeah, nope. I wasn't that time. It was It was already processed milk, but it was brought.
Okay.
I vaguely remember that.
Yeah, I didn't have that.
When
I know
lived
people
in
had a
Connecticut
bread man
when I was
too.
a
There
kid.
was a bread
I lived in New England as a boy.
Oh, yeah?
Mm-hmm.
This was
No
in
shit.
Rochester, New York.
Yeah.
And technically, Rochester's not part of New England. Or New York, I mean.
Yeah.
Then what's it a part of?
It's its own thing. It's tri-state. Well, that's New York, New Jersey, Connecticut, right?
Yes. Oh, my God. My whole life I never knew. I always assumed it was Pennsylvania because that's where Philadelphia is. I never knew that the third state was Connecticut for the longest time. Because I don't know the fucking geography up there.
Yeah.
I mean, that good.
And I'm sure all over there's different tri-state areas. Like in the tri-state, Oklahoma, Texas, and whatever's right there too, Arkansas.
Yeah,
or some
the
shit.
Tri-Cities is like Bristol, Tennessee, Johnson City, and like fucking, shit, I should know this one, Kingsport. And it's just like, you just say, the Tri-Cities, and people probably not going to guess that. And then you got the triangle and a triad.
All these areas,
Yeah, dude.
man.
You can draw a triangle with any 3 points. Turns out, the research triangle doesn't even. It's a fairly weird shaped triangle between Raleigh, Durham, and Chapel Hill.
I love it when you're driving along on the highway and you're in a really rural area and it's like you're entering a technology corridor or something like that. I'm like, what does this mean? What are they trying to say?
Progress City, USA. Yeah, man. Just imagine you're walking through with your harvest, and you're like, "Oh, I think there's some grapes over there, guys." And then you wind up like having your limbs hacked off, and like,
alive, and you're like hobbling around,
holding you down, and someone starts biting your fingers off one by one.
I just saw
and you get your head hacked off, and they say you can still see for a little, if it's like clean or whatever by one of these guys, and then like rolls, and you like just see an image of like this fucking bloodshed.
Yeah.
Brutal.
It's
the things humans will do everything to each other.
Yeah, no shit. There's literally there's not a line that hasn't been crossed. There's probably no line that wasn't crossed in this conflict. There's probably no evil deed that didn't happen.
Oh.
Like fucking God, dude. And there's no greater structure that exists that can come save you.
What was the lifespan of the colonists, I wonder?
Oh, God, it's got to be
30
short,
years.
Man. Well, I mean, if the Pilgrims got to Plymouth in 1620, and by 1675, the originals are mostly all dead.
50 years.
50, 60 years. And they're adults by that point, so yeah, I don't know. They're probably adults when they get there. But
and so much of all those, lifespans are skewed because of child mortality, infant mortality.
Yeah, that's also true.
And once you got past your childhood, you typically, people in general live, till some sort of younger old age. But I think
increase the peace, dude. That's what he should have been saying. Increase Mather is fucking so sick.
Increase Mather. It would be better if his last name was Matters. Increase Matters.
Black Lives.
That's not what my wife says.
Wampanoags matter, dude. There are still Wampanoag, Narragansett, and I don't know about Nipmuc. That's my favorite one to say.
Mi'kmaq?
Nipmuc.
My wife used to think that her and her family were part Mi'kmaq, but it turns out they weren't when they had ancestry done.
Yeah, dude.
What do we have?
That's fucking every one person ever. We're Cherokee. It's like, nah, man, you're just tan. You're actually Italian.
You're North Carolina cracker right there.
Yeah.
What do we have in Wilmington? What tribes do we have?
Lumbees, man. Wakamas down by Lake Waccamaw. PD.
What land was landfall built on?
I don't know. They have on their crest is like 15 something. It's when the Spanish came there.
Who was it? Pizarro?
I think it was Donimo.
Yeah. Anyways, next week we're going to be talking opera. No, that's not true.
Well, I'm going to learn that story. Next week I'll have that story because I should know that.
What story?
Fucking
Mozart's Magic Flute.
Sorry, yeah. Next week we're going to talk about Mozart.
We don't have to talk about it. I'm going to learn it.
We can talk about whatever. We can talk about the Age of Sail.
Age of Sail. We got a few options we're going to be hitting you with here on Welcome to the Land of Knowledge.
Yeah.
The stars look so big tonight, Jeffrey.